At least to YouTube. Good to okay. All right. Today is August 18th. The time is 6:30. I'm going to call the Newcastle Planning Board meeting to order. The first thing we have on the agenda is to approve the minutes from 4/21/2022 and 7/21/2022. Do we have a motion on the minutes to accept? Sure. Moved. Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion, comments, corrections, addendums, changes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes? That passes 4-0. All right. So application 101 tonight, Doug and Carrie Beardsworth of 24 Barrel Point, Newcastle, map 12, lot 42 in District D5 Village Business. And the description reads, repairing of the riprap retaining wall of the northwest corner of the point. So thanks for coming. We received a very well prepared application from, I can't remember the name now. There you go, Roberge. Yes, that's what it was. It was very thorough. I thought it was great. But for those of us, since we are recording, for those of us who have not read through it, can you just give us a little summary of what it is you're proposing to do?
Certainly. On that northwest corner of the point, there had been at one point a dock and a series of pilings that were retaining much of that wall on that, actually around a 90-degree corner there, from evidence that I've seen from pictures back in history. That dock was removed. There were some pilings that were remaining, and those are deteriorating and starting to fail. And as a consequence, the riprap that is there is sliding into the river. Since the time that Steve had prepared this document and I had asked him to do it, there's been more of that subsidence, I guess you'd call it, down into the river. And we're approaching more and more of a 45-degree angle, whereas prior to that in 2019 or thereabouts, it was quite steep. So we were concerned about erosion. We were concerned about, if a big chunk of that lawn area might fracture off and end up in the river. And it doesn't appear to be happening in that manner, but we're now at a point where we would like to try to get this approved and get it set to go during the winter months here.
So, so really what we're talking about, as I understand it from the application, is to essentially repair an already existing riprap wall that has just deteriorated. It's about 150 lineal feet along the northwest tip of the point there.
That is correct.
With just more riprap.
Yes.
To stop erosion.
Correct.
Well, that sounds like a slam dunk to me, honestly. I think.
Okay.
I read Lauren Stockwell's report, and it was very verbose. But at the end of the day, the takeaway that I read was not only is this a good idea, but it will help. What did she say? It'd be a good thing because it'll stop erosion from happening. So. Yeah, it should happen. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts as you were looking through the packet? It was a very well prepared 70-page packet, I gotta say.
I'm really interested as to why an area on the inside has eroded so badly, and yet the rest of, and this is just a question that's not pertinent to this particular thing, why the rest of that point hasn't eroded in the same manner. Do you have any input in that?
I have a strong supposition as to why that's happened. We bought the property in December of 2013, and I'm quite sure that the prior owners had worked on the riprap elsewhere on the point. And when it got to that particular area, they put their hands up and said, yeah, not us. So they left it for us.
There you
go. One other point, we've had a prior history with the group here as well, with a repair that we did that was closer to our home. That would have been on the part that would be immediately facing the Lincoln home, if you will.
Mhm.
And that was approved. Toby Plummer did that work for us. It worked out very nicely. And I've consulted with Toby at the time of our creating this plan. And I'll be, depending upon your response here, I'll probably be giving him a call once we get some sort of approval and alignment on what you're seeing.
So one of the questions I know we had was that a lot of this was prepared several years ago, a couple of years ago. And it references doing the work in the winter of
2019.
Yeah. But the plan would be to do the work this winter, if possible.
It's really contingent a lot on how cold and how much frost is in the ground, because
Yeah.
there's going to be some large equipment there. So, and when I talked with Steve Roberge about it, his comment was, said, you've got the preponderance of the work done. We can proceed with it at about any time, but you may need to refresh it or, get the approvals updated. And we're at a point now where we would like to try to plan this, if we may, for this upcoming winter, subject to, Toby's availability and however much ever work might be before him at this time.
Sure.
The pandemic certainly had an impact on a number of things. We weren't of a mind to do an awful lot at that particular point in time, rightly or wrongly. But
Yeah.
We've seen more activity in terms of the pilings that were there starting to fail or continuing to fail. We'd like to take action.
When you sent out at some point notice to abutters and whatnot, did you get anything back from anyone? I mean,
Nothing.
I know you have the Lincoln home and just one other. It's a two, right? Abutters you have?
It would have been
David Lawrence and
David and Susan Lawrence's
Yeah.
home there.
Yeah.
And that was all run down the ground at that point. We had no kind of issues.
Okay.
The Lawrence's home has changed hands.
it has, yeah.
So, but I would assume anybody looking at this in a kind of a rational manner would think that, yeah, it's a good idea. I think the report would back that up, and that one, the woman engineer that I think you referenced.
Lauren Stockwell, yeah.
Lauren Stockwell.
Yep.
I think that kind of seals the deal for me anyway.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think it's a good plan to definitely get it taken care of. Instead of just letting it fall apart even further. Of course, the major concern is just that it's a very highly visible place. And the minute you put excavators down the end of the point, people are going to start, asking questions.
Yep.
As they tend to do when they see things start to change, which is fine. It's great.
Yeah, of course.
It's what
natural.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you want. But so I think as long as we're sure that everything's going to be the plan that was put in place, even though it's a couple years old at this point, you're going to do that. What's that thing called? That barrier thing?
Turbidity.
They put it in the water,
Yeah.
just outside the work area.
Yeah, it's
a whole
there's a
thing.
lot of action going on there. I would think if they've got a window either side of low tide in which to accomplish this. They're going to have to take sections and I'm sure plan it and have material at the ready and so forth. I might add that lawn is going to be a very good staging area for material because the geese plus the drought has really hammered the lawn there.
I can imagine. Yeah. Well, things are a little less brown the last couple of days, which is nice, but hasn't really, not what is it, drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
All right. So I went through shoreline zoning, George. Maybe you can just, back me up or tell me I'm not looking at this right. And there really isn't any section of the shoreline zoning code that talks about this type of work that's not in relationship to either a structure or non-conforming structure, or you know what I mean? So the only section was Q that I found on page 36 under erosion and sediment control, which is a catch-all basically. It just says all activities involve filling, grading, excavation, or other similar activities resulting in unstabilized soil conditions which require a permit shall also require a written soil erosion and sediment control plan, which this application does. Um, and the plan to be submitted to the permitting authority for approval and shall include where applicable provisions for revegetation, disturbed soil, temporary runoff control features, bales of hay, silt fencing, diversion ditches, permanent stabilization structures such as retaining walls and riprap, which is exactly what you're planning on doing. So that's all I could find in shoreland that really addressed the nature of what he wants to do.
There is a little bit more in the resource protection sections, but that's not pertaining to this. So,
Okay.
Anyway, so
So then we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, nothing I saw in section Q, was a problem or anything like that would prevent this from happening. In fact, it wants it to happen, so it's encouraging it. So kudos for doing this instead of letting it just fall away. Are there any other sections of the shoreline there around which are going to need more attention? Or is this is the culmination of getting it all put back together?
I don't believe there are any other serious conditions pertaining to the riprap that would cause me to say, gee, we need to take care of it. No, I think we need to get this squared away, and then I believe we'll be in good shape. The rest of the work that had been done was done well, and the angle that has settled in for the granite riprap pieces that are there seems to be rather stable. So I don't foresee expanding the scope or coming back for a second drink of water, so to speak, to do more of it. I think it's going to be one and done with this.
Cool. And then just so we're clear for anyone who, happens to watch this and has questions, we are talking about adding approximately, I think I read 200 cubic yards of riprap along that 150 lineal feet of shoreline. And there's just to be clear, we're not talking about an expansion. We're not talking about adding on anything. It's just literally repairing the shoreline to stop erosion from happening where it has already started to fall into the ocean.
That's accurate. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's I've seen some land grabs, one might say, in other places where people are trying to increase the size of it. That's not our intention whatsoever. It's to stabilize what we have, keep what we have.
Right.
And, it's visible to me looking down at the point from that from where I stand on my front porch near the flagpole looking down, that shoulder has kind of faded away there as the rest of the riprap has started to go. So,
right.
We want to try to catch this before it becomes horrible.
Right. And then once you put the riprap, or once the contractor puts the riprap in and stabilizes the shoreline, you're going to bring the grade back up in that sunken section so that
I think aesthetically it would look
at
a
a
lot
level.
better then. Yeah.
Sure. I want to be very clear as people see dump trucks going down in there and lots of fill sitting there maybe over the winter time, whatever, that what we're talking about is not an expansion of any land mass. We're just restabilizing and rebuilding and regrading what's already there.
That's correct. There was, I don't know where it might be in that report, but I actually signed a 99-year lease to include what would be the footing or footer for that riprap.
Really?
So I'm actually leasing more of the bottom below the mean low tide line to secure the riprap on the appropriate angle. I think that might have been wasted. This is a supposition on my part, but I think some of the natural collapse that's occurred has probably gained me that ground. So I'm not sure how much we need, but it's done. We're going to carry on with it.
Right.
I hope the lease price doesn't go up.
Yep.
99 years, I guess I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I actually think there's a renewal about every 5 or 10 years or something. But
Yeah, I think, there's always sort of
there's
like a check-in or
right.
a re-up or whatever they call it.
So I think in all candor, that has to be part of it here, because as it was just so steep that
Mhm.
there was no way to build up without removing a big portion of the point that was there. So it's to actually kind of swing out that baseline around that area there.
Mhm.
And as I said before, the natural loss of the rock down the slope there, as I think started to reach that angle that Toby and Steve Roberts think is optimal for them.
Anybody have any other questions or see anything else as they were looking through the application, permit application? Not me. Okay. All right, well, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the application? Move, do we have a second? Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? No. Seeing none, all in favor of approving the, passes 4-0. All right. Thank you very much. We will sign the,
Great.
got a piece of paper here for you. Pass this along. You got a pen? Doesn't matter, yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your, the service here to the community and keeping an eyeball on stuff.
Well, we've been, I think, blessed in that we've had a lot of really well-prepared applications this past year and a half. And it's greatly appreciated, I gotta say.
Absolutely.
When you have and I don't want to say everyone doesn't need to do this, but when people do take it upon themselves to get a professional involved of some variety to help prepare the application, who knows how to go and get the information from the different agencies or whatever, put it all together for us and just, it's 70 pages, but boy, I'd rather have that any day of the week than something that's just not complete. And this was wonderful to see just how nicely detailed it was. So thank you for that.
I'll have to pass that on to Steve Roberts as well.
I did.
Great. All right.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you very
We're
much.
done.
Free to go?
You're free to go. Thank you so much. That wasn't too painful, I hope.
No, not at all.
Awesome.
I'm sure where I might be in the queue if you know what.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's been pretty light. Summer's usually not a lot of people. Summer's usually pretty quiet.
Can I take that with me then?
Yes.
Or
This for him?
I think we got to get a
Copy and-
copy of that, and either you or Shelley has to do something with it. So I think you can pick it up at the town office. Go from there. Sounds good.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Have a great night. Take care.
Bye.
All right. All right. We don't have any other applications. Are there any public comments, new business, anything that anyone needs to talk about? It's been pretty crazy. So,
Before I disappeared for so long, there was talk about some municipal something or other in Portland.
oh my God, yes.
Is that off the cards?
I initially investigated that, and then I remembered about 2.5 weeks ago, and I said, "I'm way too busy." So I think
you
I'm
go.
going to try and catch the next one.
Good enough.
They tend to run them every quarter.
Good.
Yeah. So
I wasn't itching to go. I just
Yeah, I
wanted
know.
to find it. I didn't want to miss it.
Maine Municipal is really good about it. And they host them in different places around. I think this one was in South Portland, but oftentimes they're in, Augusta or
Sure.
they've even done them in like in Hollowell and places like that. Okay. Great. Anything else? That was an easy one. We're done. Time is 10:07. With no objections, the meeting is adjourned.